In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this beautiful short ruffle skirt and how you can make yours too. So keep on watching this video if that's what you're interested in. So first thing I did was to cut out my fabric and I folded them into two. So I folded the front panel into two, and that's the back panel and this is the front. As you can see, the back panel I added about 1 inch for zipper allowance. I'm going to measure that so you see. So this is the length I'm going to be needing for this skirt. I want mine to be 17.5 inches. I'm going to draw that into a straight line, and the remaining 1.5 inches is going to serve as my hem allowance. So from the waistline I marked my hip point and I'm going to connect that with a straight line, and I'm also going to connect and mark out the waistline. On the waistline I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch seam allowance, and on the hip line I did the same thing. My hip measurement divided by 4 plus my seam allowance, and I marked out the same measurement on the hem line, but I minus 1.5 inches on the hem line from the hip measurement. So I just connected all the points together and I'm just going to cut out my pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to take out the waist extra I have on the upper part on the waistline. So I'll take that out and I'm going to remove the front panel while I cut the back panel into two, and I'm just going to draw out the hem allowance I have on the lower part, and I'm just going to mark out the zipper allowance so you understand what I'm doing. So that is the zip allowance for the back panel, and this is the lower part where I'm hem it. So what I'm going to do next is to notch on the zipper parts so that I'll know where to insert my zip. So I'm just going to fold this inwards. I'm going to fold the hem allowance inwards and I'm going to pin it. I'm going to show you how you will cut out your lining and make your lining look very beautiful from the inside. Okay, so I'm just folding the hem allowance, and that is from that fold to the upper part is the length I'm going to need for my lining. Okay, so I'm just measuring, and remember my length for skirt is 17.5. you see here I have 16 inches, so the length of the lining I cut out is 16 inches because 1.5 is going to be for the hem allowance. So this is how my lining is going to be. I'm going to attach it to the point where I folded in like so, and I did the same for the back. I cut out the lining using the measurement from the folded part, and after attaching it, this is what I have. I stitched the lining to the fabric all around. I stitched it all around from the inside, and I turned it inside out because I left that place open. So that place you saw now is where I used to turn this inside out. So that is how I was able to achieve this beautiful finished look of this lining. If you don't understand, just let me know in the comment section, but it's very easy. So that's what I did. I just turned out my fabric with the lining. Okay, so this is the front panel, and remember this skirt is going to have a ruffle. So from the waistline to the hemline, I measured whatever I got there. I multiplied it by 2 and I cut out a long strap that will be measuring that measurement multiplied by 2, and the width of this is 5 inches in case you're wondering. And after that, what I did was to go ahead and make a stitch on the fabric I'm using for the ruffle with the loosest stitch on my machine, and I'm just gathering it. You know how you make your gathers? Yes, that's what I'm doing. So I just made a stitch on the ruffle part and I gathered it with the thread. I've shown you how to do this before and it's very easy. So just make a stitch on your machine, on the fabric with the loosest stitch on your machine. Okay, so I have the two ruffles for the two sides. and I've gathered them. So what I'm going to do is to divide my body measurement by 2, and whatever I get, I'm going to mark it out. So I'm just going to take my body measurement on the front panel, okay, so that I will know how to place the ruffle. So I marked out my waist measurement divided by 2 on the waistline, and from my waist side I'm going to measure down to the hip line where I will insert my hip measurement, and on that point I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 2, okay. And whatever I have, I'll mark that on the hip line, and on the hem line I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 2 minus 1 inch, and I'm going to connect all of these points that I made. I'm going to connect them together, and from the waistline down to the hip line, okay. So on that point I'm going to place the ruffle that I just made for the skirt. So the lines I just made on the front of the skirt is where I'll place my ruffle. So notice that I have hemmed the sides of this ruffle from the upper part, the lower part, and on the sides I hemmed everything, okay. So from the waistline I'm going down by 1/2 inch because I'm going to attach a waistband to this skirt. So I'm leaving that space from the upper part, that 1/2 inch from the upper part, because that's where I'll attach my waistband. So I'm just going to pin the ruffle to the side of the skirt, starting from that 1/2 inch point where I left. So I'm just going to pin it to the main skirt, the front panel of the skirt, making sure that I spread the fabric evenly. You don't want one side to be fuller than the other, so I just spread it, make sure that it is evenly spread and is looking equal and beautiful. And I'm going to pin it down to the hemline. So that is basically what I'm just doing, okay. So like I explained before, to know the amount of ruffle you will cut out, like these pieces I'm pinning to this, you take the entire measurement of your skirt, multiply that by 2 or 1.5 depending on how full you want yours to be. So after pinning that, I'm just going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Then I'll take it to the sewing machine, stitch it to it, then I'll come back and show you. So this is the back. We are going to work on the back. I'm placing the back right sides facing each other, and from the upper part I'm going to mark, taking note of where I'll attach my waistband. I'm just measuring where my zipper will start from, and I'm going to measure the slit I have for the skirt. So right from this is where I will take to the sewing machine and stitch. The lower part is for the slit and the upper part is for the zipper, okay. So this is the front panel. I have attached the ruffle to the front of the skirt. As you can see, the skirt is already looking very beautiful. So what I'm going to do next is to place the back side on it. You can see already that I have stitched on the zipper part, okay. So I'm just going to stitch the front and the back panels together, and I'll come back. Okay, I'm going to also attach the waistband. My waistband is measuring 1.5 inches. I mentioned that earlier. So this is what I'm going to use for the waistband. Now the waistband has been attached and the zipper has been attached to the skirt. See how beautiful it looks from the inside, and definitely this is beautiful. I hope you're going to try it on. And this is me wearing the skirt. It looks so beautiful.